So yesterday we have seen that how do we play with the public properties, right? We use API to make property as a public. We saw these public properties for public variable and public methods as well. How do we communicate from parent to child? So in this scenario, we need to mention properties or methods APIs with the APIs in the child component, and then we can access those from the parent component. Okay. So today, this was our second decorator. So first we saw trackable property and non-trackable property. In the non-trackable property, we have seen that the variables which are declared without track, those can be primitive types of variables, but if you want to track the changes happen with the object type of or array type of properties, then we need to use track property to track the changes happen with them, and those can get reflected on the HTML template. Next was public properties, in which we can we saw that we can apply that for variables and methods. The next one is very important, or which is nothing but the wire. We can say it's a global property, right? Which we can use to read the Salesforce data, meaning Lwc components use this wire property to get the data from the Apex methods to communicate with Apex. So wire, we also called it wire service, which is reactive. So if you can see here, we can have wire property or wire function to receive data and to return data to a wire function. So to use this wire property or function, we need to mention this wire and to call Apex method. So whenever we are calling to the Apex function, right, Apex method from the Lwc component using wire, we need to make that method, Apex method, we need to use the @aura enabled cacheable equal to true. So I'll talk about it, why this cacheable equal to true we need there, and how does it behaves without cacheable equal to true. Okay. So if you guys can see, Salesforce doesn't allow us to perform any DML operations with this cacheable equal to true or enabled method, Apex method. So, but when you want to use this wire, right, you have to use this, so you can get the refresh data. I'll talk about it. So here is the syntax for wire and to call the Apex method of the JavaScript. So very first point is, like, we imported API, right? For track also we imported track here from the Lwc model. Similarly, we also need to import this wire, right? Wire property here in the Lwc model before we use it. If we don't import it and you are using here in your JavaScript class, it will not be available for us. Okay. So here you guys can see the syntax, like import. How do we call Apex method, right? So this is the syntax of calling the Apex method. Fetch the data from Apex method, import Apex method name. Here will be the method name from @Salesforce /Apex /class name. If it is namespace, if your OS has namespace, you need to mention the namespace. But otherwise, you can just mention the class name dot method name into the single quotes. Now, in the class, you can use this @wire, right, to call the Apex method. Into the round brackets, you can just give the method name and comma. Into curly brackets, you can just pass parameters to the Apex method. So here you guys can see the description Apex method name, right? So this is the Apex method name, Apex method reference. This is the name of the Apex method that we want to call from JavaScript. Class name is the class name, Apex class name namespace, which we have created in the Salesforce org. Apex method params. So whatever parameters we want to pass to the Apex method, this is how we can call it. Now, we need to make sure that this wire property, right, whenever you use wire, the Apex method should be static, either global or public. We can have both, any of these. And the method must be decorated with this aura enabled cacheable equal to true. Now, this is the example. Just we'll try this and let's see how does it works. Let me go back to the classes. Let me see if we already have a class. Yeah. So here, if you guys can see, this is the Apex class, right? Which I have already created. So I'm not gonna create new class here and create new method. I would like to utilize the existing class and method. So you guys can see this contact controller is the class, and this is the aura enabled cacheable equal to true. I followed the syntax and it returns the list of contacts, right? And the method name is get contact list, and the method is having one parameter account ID. And in this method, I'm just querying the contacts with this account ID, right? So where the account ID is this, I'm just querying those contacts. Okay, so now what we'll do is I'll just create new Lwc component and let's see how does it works. I'll just right click here on the Lwc folder and select create lightning web component. I'm giving name wire properties demo batch 3. I'm just hitting enter and it's created by default these 3 things for me. To make it available, I will just copy this. I would like to utilize this instead of and I'll just go back here I have set up this. Okay, now in wire. Okay, in this JavaScript class, right, what we want to do is we just need to import wire, right? So comma separated using wire, and we need to write this statement, right? So import back should be this. So the syntax is like import get contact list method name from where? From Apex, Salesforce Apex, class name and method name. Okay, so this is how we can import, or we need to mention here before we call the Apex method. And here is the syntax for you. So this is the one of the way to call the Apex using wire property. Okay, so this is the first way that we are looking at. We will be looking at another way after this. So see, this is the wire property contacts, and get contact list is the Apex method that we are calling from here. So it will, what it will do is it will look at this import get contact list, and basically it will call this method of this class, and whatever this method is returns, it will store those data here in this contacts variable in the JavaScript. Okay, let's try it out and let's see how does it works. Or okay, so what I will do is on the HTML side, okay, I will just take one lightning card and to that card I'm just giving title. So and in this lightning card, what I'll do is template if true equal to contacts, and into this template, what I will do is I will take another template. Okay, and into this template we will do one thing. We have iterator, I think, for each. Okay, I'll just take this out. So I'm just checking if contacts property is having data or not. So we need to use the data to access the data within this contacts variable. So here also So only that time this template will get rendered. If contacts having nothing, this particular area will not render. Okay, so and this is the template where we will be iterating on the contact list. Now let's see what we have here. We have just taken simple p contacts dot name. Okay, as we know that we need to mention the key for each. Now, okay, let me push this component to the org and let's see. Okay, so let's go back, and what I'll do is I'll just edit this page. Wire properties dash 3 demo. I'll just put it here on the top. I will just take this out. Context.data. I was thinking it should not return any data because we are not passing any parameter right to this apex method. As this apex controller method is having account ID, right? But actually we are not passing any account ID, so it should not return anything. That's what I was expecting here. Okay, 1 second. We'll just hard reload it. Not sure why this is giving us data. What I'll do is classes contacts controller. Okay, now I have two different methods. One of them is having this and this. Let's see which one this pick up. But in the previous scenario, it shouldn't display. Okay, let me see how many contacts we have. You guys can see we have multiple around 29 contacts, but it's still displaying 2. Not getting why this is. Okay, let me comment this out and let's see. Okay, let me refresh it. Home page. Nothing is getting display over here. Something is wrong with this, I think. Okay, anyways, you guys just keep it in mind for time being instead of wasting. I'll check on this and we'll let you know why this was happening. Okay. So for now, I'm just leaving it. So let me check here. Okay, we're having 2 up contacts. Okay. Still is returning rows. Anyways, so this is the one of the ways to access the Salesforce data, right? To read the Salesforce data in LWC, to call the apex method using wire property. So let me go back here. So when do we use this wire, right? When do we use this wire? So whenever you want to do something on your component load, okay. So that time you can use this wire method to call the apex wire properties to call the apex method automatically. You don't need to explicitly call the apex method. So instead of any event or something like that, you can use this. So another benefit of this method is as it is cacheable equal to true, right? So whenever anything is changes happen with the database, right? Any records are getting updated or new record getting created, right? So by this, as that cacheable equal to true. So as this is reactive property, right? Wire is reactive. So that's why what it does is it will always give you the refresh data from the Salesforce database. So it's one of the benefits. So that's why wire is a beneficiary here. Next thing, we have another way to call the apex method, wire and apex method with the dynamic parameter. So how do we do that? So let's say let's try it out with this. I'll just utilize this example. Okay, so what I will do is I'll just copy this. Okay, copy this and I'll go back to class. And I'll simply deploy this class first. I'm using the Salesforce standard documentation here. So now what we want to do is we want to call this, right? So we need to take this out. You guys can also practice this like this. Wire property, let's see, okay. This is another method that we are going to use it. And in the JavaScript, we are taking one variable here like search key, which is the string variable, and into the string. I will just comment this variable, would like to utilize same variable. So what we did here is we have taken this wire property, right? Find contacts is the apex method. Okay, and in the apex method, what we did is we have taken one string input parameter, right? And we are just keeping it like this. So it will be searching for us for the particular contact. Okay, so in the query, what we are doing here is in the where name like key. So key with a name like key, whatever things we are tapping on the UI, I will show you that. Then these many contacts will get displayed on the UI. Now, by comma separated, as we have seen in the syntax, right? This is how we can pass the parameter to the apex method. So we have search key here, and that search key also we have taken as a parameter here, right? Name of the parameter. So the left side of this is the name of the parameter in the apex controller, and the right side is of this right side is value we are passing to that method, value for this attribute. And whatever contacts or whatever data will return by this method will get stored into this contacts variable. Okay, we are also having one method here, right? Handle key change. I'm just taking this out here. They're using timeouts. Okay, I'll also take this out. Constant variable on the class level, right? On the top of this class. So I'll explain you. So these are Windows methods which will be searching by this milliseconds, right? Milliseconds. So within that specific time, whenever you're typing something, whenever this method is getting called, within this time interval, this method will get called, or this variable will, whatever variable you're typing there, right, will get assigned to this search keyword. And whenever any changes happen to this, it will automatically call this wire method. So let's see what we have there on the UI side. We have same thing here. We are just taken a one input variable input. So what I'll do is I'll just okay. So you guys can see we have one input type where type is search. One lightning input we have taken on change. We are calling that JavaScript method which was there, which we created right now, right? This is the method handle key, and label is search and value is search. So search is we have defined here. So by default it should be empty. Now I'm just saving this. What I'll do is I'll deploy this source to contact controller. So here is the unable to find Apex method reference as a contact controller. Okay. Find contacts we have. Okay, let's deploy this and let's see. Okay, contact picture. So we don't have this variable. Okay, so that's why it's giving error. So I'm just removing this. Okay, and just saving this. Okay, now we are good to go ahead. And let me deploy this. Okay. Yeah. Okay, let's refresh this page and let's see how does it works. See, one input, we got one input search, right? Lightning input, and below this contacts we have by default. Okay, now what I will do is I will just see these contacts are getting sorted. So meaning whenever any changes happen to your property, right? So that particular method will get automatically called, means wire method, and it will fetch data for you, or it will do as per your logic at the back end, like Rosie. See, Jack, Pat, and if you type test, see. So this is how wire method works. Like whenever you want to get refresh data, right, without doing anything, automatically you need to have this data in place. You can use this wire method. So this was one of the way. Let me see what else we have here. Okay, it's kind of okay. No worries. We have seen the with the parameters, right? Non-parameterized simple method and parameterized method. Okay, so this was the one. One more way, like whatever we have seen till now, right? Which includes in the wire property, right? Wire method with property. So we have used this, right? Wire method, right? Wire method with property, right? Like variable. Now we want to see wire apex method to a function, means wire function also we can use. So just the syntactical changes are here. So this is how it works. So instead of using this, right, instead of doing this, we can directly use the method to call this find function. We can write another function, and from that you can call this find contacts, and then you can assign values to the local variable like this, and then you can use that. But whenever you're using this wire property, right, wire method with property, then you need to use the data, like a contacts data we use on the UI side, right? Contacts data. So this is how you want to follow to display data. If I take this out, right, let's see how what will happen if I take this out. Okay, and if you try to push it, it saves, and let's see what will happen here. See, the component has gone from here. So whenever you are binding the property, JavaScript property to the Apex method, right? So on the UI side, you need to mention this dot data in order to access it, and I'll deploy it, and let's see, it will come back. Yeah, you guys can see. So make sure that whenever you're binding this property to a wire method, need to mention that. Okay, now we want to see the point wire an apex method to a function. So how do we use the function to this wire property? So this is the syntax. First of all, we will declare one variable contacts. Okay, similarly like this, I'm just taking this out, and this is my variable contacts. and you can simply use this syntax wire. Below that I'll be using this, and then this will be the function, right? Meaning wire an apex method to a function, right? So binding this apex method to a function. This is the JavaScript function, and whatever result we will get from this method, right? So we will be storing this dot contact. Now contacts is our variable, right? The class variable in which we will be storing this data. So this is the syntax. Error will return error, means if any error occurs in the apex, right? So it will store in this error variable, and you can simply, if you want to display error message on the UI as well in the HTML template, you can display that error. And if you want to display data, will return your data actual records, and those will get display on the UI. So let me push this and let's go back. And on the UI side, right, as I mentioned, we don't need this data now. Okay, I'm just deploying the whole code here. Okay, let's refresh the page and let's see the result. See, again it's giving me 2 contacts. Forget about this lightning input, but if you can see this, we are iterating over this, right? In the HTML, we are just iterating over this, right? So just look at this, it's returning data for us. And what we did is, by 2 ways we did something like this. But if you want to display any error message, okay, like this, what I'll do is query title name. Okay, I will just, where is that? ID name title. Okay, let's say I'm not querying the name. Okay, and I will deploy this. And what I want to do is, okay, I'll just go back to this component in the HTML, and I'll simply do it. I'm just taking this error variable. So because if any error occurs, right, that errors will get assigned to this local variable here in the JavaScript. This is the variable that we will be using, and I'm just taking that variable here. Okay, I'm just taking out this panel here, and in the p tag, I'm just displaying that error. So what I'll do is I'll push this. Now I'm just refreshing it. No. So I was expecting that it will, throw that exception that field queried field reference without querying, right? Like that, because I have taken out the name, contact name from here, right? And still it is displaying from there. Okay, get contact list. We did wrong. I will take this out and I will deploy this because that method is referencing to this method. Okay, so that's why I have just taken out the name. And let's refresh this and let's see. It should display that error message over here. Okay, no error message. Something is going wrong with this class. I don't know what's happening with here. But as we are referencing this, right, this method over here, and we have already taken out contact name, right, from this query. So it should throw an error for us. So that's why I have taken this out. But what you guys can do is, if these kind of things happen, right? So if you want to catch the error and display on the UI, right? Display on the UI, what you guys can do is you can, use toast messages. I'll show you that. You can use the toast and display that error message like this, or you can directly display a message. You can store that error message here in the local variable, and you can refer that variable on the screen to display error message. Okay, so okay, let's see if we have something else. Okay, in the wire method, do you guys, do you have any doubts till now in wire property? Because we are done with this wire property, and we have seen that we can call apex method with the different ways, like using wire variable, right? Wire property variable, and we can also use wire function to call apex method as well. And also another way with parameter and without parameter. We have seen all of these things here. Do you have any doubts, guys? If not, then let's see what's next. But we have only 5 minutes. I don't think we would be able to cover anything in these 5 minutes. Okay, we'll talk about this. The next topic will